this is on the off chance this is going public, and even though NES is not looking, NES really wants to get Winter's Victory out the door um,
Right.
before this. So essentially, the big in-person play test will probably be next year at Consim World.
Hmm.
Um, Hopefully, things get a bit more back to normal, or we figured out something.
Big playtest for this version.
For what is essentially the full, I call it the full Jaws of Victory treatment, and anybody who because this game's been out for a while. There's a strong cadre of players who play this game,
Yes.
and I know their big thing is fix the errata, fix some of the typos, answer the questions, clarify some things. If you can improve some player aid charts, that would be nice. Clean up the wording and things like that, which is what I call phase A. So phase A is, yeah, I mean, you should be doing that anyway, and that's a good base to move ahead from. Phase B for me is there are some, let's see, I should say, not having come from the Victory in the West system, there are elements of the chit pull system that to me doesn't add a lot to the game in that, and I think you noticed that too when we're playing, you kind of go, it's an A3, and you're getting all caught up in the combat effectiveness, right? Particularly when you start, replacing some of the American units,
Right.
and then you go and you pull some chits, and you go, well, that A2 unit pulled a better chit than the A3 unit. So
Yes.
why am I spending a ton of time doing this
Hmm.
if, or I've seen some A3 pulls are extremely low, you know? Um, and particularly in the Bocage, because you don't have a lot of stacking, and it's one regiment versus maybe another regiment, or versus one of the battalions or something.
Yeah.
When you're fighting in the peninsula, there isn't a lot of variability. You might get 10% of the time, maybe 15% of the time, you get a high enough chit pull that 2-to-1 becomes a 3-to-1, or the 2-to-1 becomes a 1-to-1.
Hmm.
But most of the time, you're pulling the chits. It's 2-to-1, like what we figured it was going to be.
Right.
So while there's a variability, it doesn't really affect the game all that much. Um, and there's some weird things too. Like we've got these, like the American battalions, like for the 4th Infantry Division, you got the 8th Regiment, the 12th, and 22nd. Um, they're 5.5s. There are 3 of them. So 3 of them would be a strength of 15. Now, there's a tank battalion folded in there. So even if you take an American tank battalion, which I believe is a 1-4 or 2-4, that means that regiment should be a 13 or a 14th strength. Except then you pull a chit and it's a 9. You go, well, what happened there?
Yeah.
Um, and the weird thing too is the 4th division, when it forms, its maximum combat effectiveness is a 2. Like, isn't this the division that trained for D-Day? Why is it at a max 2?
Yeah.
Um, and again, some of these are capped, and I think they're capped artificially, so you can't rest and you can't rest and refit to make it a 3. Um, so there are just some strange elements of the game there. So one of the things that I want to be able to do is to do the Jaws of Victory treatment, which is the TO&E of an American infantry division will get you this,
Hmm.
but combat effectiveness is still going to be there. So if you have a combat effectiveness 3, that 3-step unit is going to have, let's say, just to throw numbers out there, 16, then 12, then 8, and then finally it's a 4 or something like 15, I forget what I had, like 15, 10, 5, and then a 2 for a cadre.
Okay.
But if it's a combat effectiveness 2, then it's not going to be a max 15, it's going to be max 12. It's going to be somewhat, but the combat effectiveness is going to be something real. The combat effectiveness 3 will never be less than a combat effectiveness 2 in the same type of unit. And the chit pull mechanism in this game had all it went was the size of the unit and some combat effectiveness, and then anything else like what the unit was actually how it was actually composed makes no difference. Um, so I'm starting to build now. I've generated. I've built my script. I've now generated. I've got everything except the weapons nests and the garrisons for the Germans.
Hmm.
I've generated from my spreadsheets of what the all the units are. I've generated over 1,000 counters, PNG files that I can put into the next um, vassal module so we can play test.
Nice.
So one of the things I'm looking at is upping the numbers of steps, not like a ton. Jaws of Victory, the steps are a lot. It's like some of those units are 5-step units.
Yes.
We're not doing anything nearly as drastic. I'm not doing anything nearly as drastic.
That
The American.
playtest for Jaws of Victory was fantastic, though.
Oh, well, I'm glad, and I'm hoping to capture that in the next round of this. Now, whether or not we call this Killing Ground 2, or whether we even give it a new name,
Hmm.
um, and this is pure conjecture. I've only started, again, Mark's kind of letting me run with this, and we really haven't come up with anything official. I have to be very clear about that.
Right.
Um, so, to me, in my mind, it is possible that this effort produces two things. One, latest and greatest living rules for Killing Ground so that it is as is. A second product would be, um, and or we improve some of the historicity and like tweak maybe a minor tweakage here and there.
Hmm.
The other piece would be to bring in the Jaws of Victory um, unit stepping ideas where units are a fixed, um, you have unit types and combat effectiveness. And the armor units, you get the armor within an armor game taking place. So
Yes.
what I started doing with that is a an armor step is composed of 25 to 40 vehicles, roughly a company, depending upon various TONEs. For
Hmm.
the Germans, though, the Panthers and Tigers are roughly 15 to 20 vehicles. So a German Panther or Tiger step is equivalent to twice as many other vehicle types. So essentially 15 Panthers versus 30 Shermans is essentially with regard to the amount of vehicles that might be lost in a battle, equivalent. Throw in the armor dots, and you're talking Panthers have 4 and Shermans have 2.
Right.
So even 15, well, 17 again if you're up to paper strength, but if you got 17 Panthers in a Panzer company versus 30 some odd Shermans, it's one step to one step and a 2-to-1 qualitative ratio. Um, so it takes the Germans a while to attrit, but they will, and it's
Yes.
and it's possible. Meanwhile, the Shermans are going to be taking some hits probably,
Yeah.
which is fine. Operation Goodwood, I think the Brits lost something like over 3 days. They lost 400 tanks.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So there was actually a question that came up during the comments of the initial video,
Okay.
and the question, I don't remember if it was a question on the video itself or a question in the Wargaming channel. Uh,
Okay.
but the question was, is the development of this playtest going to lead to a new print of the game?
Hopefully. Um, it's a tough thing for me to answer. Obviously, I'm not going to spend all this time. I've got other wargaming projects and
Right,
other personal projects like Steel and Steam,
right.
that I am working on the side as well.
It was a
Um,
multifaceted question. They were like, is it just vassal? Is it just for your personal use, or is it going to lead to a print? And I was like,
it,
right now, we're playing with it. I
well,
can't
exactly.
answer the other questions, but
So the
right now
interesting
we're playing with it.
Right. So the interesting thing about this, because again, nothing's final and it's not even a priority.
Right.
But I was given the blessing by Mark Hinkle that I do a good enough job. This becomes again, maybe we just do update the living rules. We've clarified. Maybe there are some new charts if people want to print and play. And again, this is not coming from Mark at all. So I have to be very clear about this.
Right.
Um, that who knows, there are various possibilities. Bare minimum, we fix it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
um but we have started talking about things like box sizes, so we are talking about packaging and things like that, and putting everything and doing at the very least a reprint and getting something out there.
Mm-hmm.
um the reason why I hesitate to say this is,
Nothing set in stone.
well, nothing's set in stone, and then what winds up happening is somebody sitting on what they believe is a $300 unpunched shrink version of Killing Ground because it is so rare, and then all of a sudden, oh, version 2 is coming out and the value just plummets. And
Yeah.
there's an element of, well, it's not going to be out in a year, it might not even be out in 2 years, and or who the heck knows.
Right. For the
So that
collectors, you don't want to induce panic.
well, exactly. All I can say is to that is anything that we might do again, as just if we stick to just phase A, which would just be again clarify, clean up, maybe take a sander to some of the rougher burrs of what's there,
Yep.
and it's a fine game. And as published, it's a fine game. The difficulties, you got the Killing Ground rules, but some of the Overload rules in the beginning will supersede some of the Killing Ground rules, and then they get the turn one rules to do the invasion and this, that, and the other thing. But
Right. You're
as a
looking at
product,
18 different books.
yes. And so that's another thing that at the very least, again, a consolidated rule book, some consolidated charts, maybe you clean up some things here and there. Um, Even when you compare the Overlord turn record chart to the Killing Ground turn record chart, you can see where it just looks different, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
I mean,
and
at the
and
tail
knowing
end
Mark,
of our last game, we had jumped from the Overlord to the Killing Ground, but there was like a week and a half worth of time that we skipped because I hit the depot so early.
mm-hmm.
And we were like, okay, well, now that we're in Killing Grounds, but we're still on the Overlord turn record chart, we were porting over numbers
Yeah, it
to try
wasn't
and make
entirely
it even.
right. It wasn't entirely clear, and there were some elements of that, like like all of a sudden the Americans, the Allies, get their depots up, and hey, look at this, we've got all this supply, and the Germans are going, I got to get Fifth Panzer Army up here because otherwise. So all of a sudden, the Americans go from, or the Allies, I should say, go from 4 supply interdiction aircraft to 6, but the Germans are still only getting eight supply points, and you
Right.
just go, okay, 0 supply points, and then another turn of 0 supply points, and another turn of 0 supply points. Come on, Fifth Panzer Army, roll some good dice, high dice. Well, okay, uh, no brown bread for you guys
Yeah.
for another turn, right? Um, so there are some transition issues, and I think most of the clarifications need to be in the clarification. I got a stack of stuff from one of the more intense players of Killing Ground. Actually, he and I partnered up when we played at Constant World. We played the Allies. Actually, no, we played the Germans.
Okay.
And I mean, he just had his own like terrain effects chart with various notes that he put in, and he had attachment displays and things of that nature.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, no, and like I said, he had all this stuff in there. He's like, "Yeah, I got a question about this, got a question about that," and you kind of look and you say, "Yeah, that needs to be, addressed
Addressed.
in some cleaner rules." Even some of the areas we're trying to find where some of the rules are, um, some of the rules are just tough to find. I mean, they're in there, but they're tough to find. So just even things like that.
Fair.
But again, that's a phase A thing. So phase A would be, Mark decides, all right, clean up some art, clean up some things here, reprint. It's a single game now, and do n amount, a print run of n, whatever that is,
Mm-hmm.
and and then people get a good game. And knowing Mark, if people have the original game, he'll have living rules and things like that too, so you can still play with the original components.
Right.
Um, but a lot of the Jaws of Victory stuff, again, with the fixed unit ratings and not having to, come on, high chit, I need a 15. Oh, I got an 8. Oh, that's going to be awful. But one of the things that I'm looking to do for the Allies as well, though, is I'm still going to have, and for the Germans, I still am going to have combat effectiveness that is going to be there. How I'm going to do that in a JOV style system, and I thought about this over the last couple of weeks, is the units that land in the D-Day turn. They're going to be combat effectiveness 3. They might drop to a 2 if they took some heavy losses. I know when the Americans, when they do their battalion recombination, if they've taken losses, they might go effectiveness level -1 markers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So in that case, that might still happen, but you're starting with a 3. But units that come in as reinforcements, like the 90th, and everybody else that comes in,
Yeah.
what's going to happen is their strength or their combat effectiveness is going to be untested. They will not have a chit. And one of the landing delay things where you had the E-1, E-2 values,
Yes.
it's going to be like a U+1 marker, which means it's untested and there's a +1 modifier to the roll. And when you use them in combat for the first time, that's when you find out how good that unit's training was.
Okay.
So now they're going to come in, you're going to roll 2 dice, and you're going to get either a result of a 3 or 2 or a 1, and that's your combat effectiveness. And that's going to be the chit that gets in there. Okay, it's a full strength regiment, so it's 3 steps, but it's not going to be, let's say, the type A infantry unit. Maybe it's an A3, maybe it's an A2, maybe it's an A1. You're going to find out when it goes into combat, not looking at it like, oh, I know this guy's going to be terrible, so I'm just going to just immediately rest and refit him. It's like, no. He's going to go into combat first.
Right.
You need to find out, right? So things like that, the Allies, when they come in off the boat, will be untested. Then you can still do the rest and refit on them as normal after that point, but they're going to come in untested. I'm toying with the idea for the Germans of having 2 markers for their step losses, one for combat effectiveness 3 and 2s, and another one for combat effectiveness 1s, because I think that when the 1s take losses, you can replace 1s with those steps pretty easily,
Mm-hmm.
but not 2s and 3s. 2s and 3s need a higher class of replacement.
Right.
The Osttruppen took a hit. Okay, hey, we rounded up a bunch of stragglers, a bunch of Poles and Russians. Let's give them to the SS. I'm sure they'll get along. Right? Hey, we get
Yeah,
to
that's
ride
some
the tanks.
solid unit cohesion.
Hey, we get to ride the tanks in the battle. Cool. Why are you tying us to the front? I don't understand. Right? So
Oh yeah, you're there to soak up extra rounds and
yeah,
bazookas.
yeah, spaced armor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's reactive. Oh, you're gonna see me react, all right. So
The, their screams are like when the Stukas had the
oh, that's
had the propellers on them that made the noise.
yeah.
The tanks rolling in, all I hear is "Ah!"
What is that moaning? I hear moaning.
Oh, that's the SS. The SS tanks are rolling in. Oh, those
Yeah.
are Germans and Poles tied to the front. Oh, psychological warfare is really getting weird with the Germans.
Yes. Doesn't seem to affect the guys in the unit though. Um,
No, that's a morale boost for them.
yeah, no kidding. But so that's the thing, and I think that might be then that might be an option rule because what I want to capture to a certain extent are the different ways that both sides replace their units. I mean, the Allies kind of had the whole Repel Depel system of, all right, got a bunch of guys who needs units. These guys, boom, off you go.
Yeah.
And that's what brings the combat effectiveness down because, again, you got combat veterans and guys fresh out of training, such as it was.
Right.
Um, Meanwhile, the German units, I mean, yet they had so many units with different TO and Es. You had the SS. Now, I could probably do a bit more research on why it's an optional unit and why I'm just kind of spitballing here. I know the SS kind of had their own parallel system, although I think by 1944 the Wehrmacht might have been pulled more closely into the Wehrmacht system. So I'm not sure, but I don't want to get into it's an SS replacement unit versus something else. I mean, I don't want to be counting bullets or anything,
Right.
but I think losing, we get a bunch of steps that are from weapons nests getting overrun. Oh, good, I can replace my 12th SS mechanized infantry unit now. It's like, really? You think so? You think guys from the 708th were just gonna, show up at 12th SS headquarters and be like, yeah, we're good. We can, we're okay. So, but those are just some ideas. So
Okay.
that I have to kind of flesh out. But yeah, there are a lot of things in Jaws of Victory that we're not going to do. And again, I think right now with most of the with most of the system, just about all the regiments are
All the regiments are 2 steps.
yeah, like right now because you pick a chit, then you can flip the chit, and then you go to cadre, and then that's it. So every
Yeah.
regiment right now is 3. So 2 plus cadre. The regiments, for the most part, are going to be 3 plus cadre. So I think they'll be a little less brittle. I think you'll be able to try more attacks as the Germans without going, oh, well, I got damaged. Now I'm going to get damaged again. He's going to be a cadre, and that's just going to turn into a big old problem.
Mm-hmm.
The Germans will have a bit more staying power. The Allies can be attritted a little bit more. Both sides can attrit each other. And then especially when you get into the armor, anti-armor, the armor units will be taking more losses. Then, of course, once you do that, then you have to kind of take a look at the replacement rate and deal
Right.
with that. Yeah. Oh, but the other thing, of course, too, that I'm going to add is the Tiger breakdown. That's a whole other thing, too. So the Tigers right now, I'm going to try and add a 5th dot for a full strength Tiger company. So yeah, they'll kill you on a 5 out of 6. But if you roll a 5, you're gonna lose that. You're gonna lose a step regardless. So it's not going to be in addition. If the Allies ping you, they ping you. But if they don't, then the Tiger step is going to lose a step anyway. But he's going to get 2 steps on the tank loss chart to kind of show that it's a breakdown. It's in the garage. You were able to recover more units, that kind of thing. But
Okay.
yeah. So again, some interesting ideas. I've got a lot of the counters done. I'm working on the markers, the combat markers. I don't know if I'm going to regenerate the weapons nests and the garrisons. I'll probably just keep those counters and just bring them over for the play test kit.
Okay.
Because that's really not the meat of the system.
Right.
And I have to update the vassal module, which I'm not looking forward to doing. So that's it. That's the plan anyway. So hopefully I can get this done within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then we can continue play with some different counters and some different situations and see what happens.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Looking forward to it.
so when we do the counter update and the module update, we'll start fresh. Right?
Yeah, but you want to start? You want to start again with June 6th, or you want to continue on where we? I mean, I don't mind starting over. That's fine too.
Um,
I'll leave
I
it up
mean,
to you.
if
Doesn't matter.
if things can translate, we can translate. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind seeing. This has been a really interesting entry scenario
Mm-hmm.
with 352nd not being on the beach,
Yep.
but with 91st being in country. It's a bit opposite from what you had, where
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
352nd was on the beach, but
Yeah.
91st was not in country.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a flip flop. I'd like to see how another scenario would play out with all
I
optional rules.
I would not mind doing that. The other thing too is since I had developed the maximum uncertainty scenario for the single map,
Right, and this is
that
the big map.
yeah, your accelerated deployment for 12th SS really wasn't accelerated, especially considering that the headquarters never really activated, which made the whole early arrivals even like wasn't even that early. So I got to take a look at what the effect on a big map would be for 12th SS. I think that particular role of 12th SS accelerated essentially just means I get them like halfway to con or something and just set up new starting setup positions. Like they're not spread all the way as far as they are.
Right.
They're 12 hexes closer or something.
That would be
Um,
an interesting addition.
and or they get a +1, or they get a -1 to their activation roll.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, or either or, right? So anything that's either first SS headquarters, second SS. I think it's. I have to look. Yeah, first SS headquarters. Um, Maybe they get a +1, meaning, oh, they landed. Yeah, we're on it, and then boom, they just start motoring like landing phase 1. Here they come.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's different ideas.
Yeah, and they're all good.
Yeah, cool. It's all about having fun anyway. So
Yes, I mean we're playtesting. We're just having fun with a couple of ideas.
exactly.
So I mean that sounds it's a good track. I think we're going a lot of good places with this.
Me too.
Um, I'm especially looking forward to seeing the updated counters.
I know I've given you some previews, so
Yes, I they are beautiful.
thank you. I have to. There are a couple of the vehicles on my counters are from my own personal library. I built some coding script to build
I
some.
remember watching you build those piece by piece on Facebook.
Yes, so I need to get.
That was with Ruby, right? You were doing Ruby.
Yes, I have Ruby, and I'm sitting on top of the Cairo and Pango software libraries that Inkscape sits on top of, which is a freeware Linux. I'll say Photoshop replacement. It's probably more like an Adobe Illustrator.
Oh, okay.
Obviously not as full featured, but it's
Right.
a painting program. So yeah, so I built a bunch of code to build these vehicle graphics. But I'm missing. I don't have any martyrs, and there's a Sturm Panzer IV unit that comes in during Killing Grounds. It's got a Brumbears.
Mm.
So I've got to build. So I got to build one of those just for that one unit. Um, but that's always fun too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Were there a lot of martyrs in this area?
Um, they were in the Panzerjäger units, battalions. Some of the infantry divisions, like I think 352nd had it. In fact, Normandy 44 has that counter, has a 352nd Panzerjäger. So I think they did have them. I picked up Zetterling's book on Normandy 44 recently. It's been updated,
Yeah.
and it's got a lot of chewy goodness in there.
Were they martyr twos or threes? Probably threes.
Yeah, from the point of view of this level at this scale, it probably doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that. What was it? Zetterling also mentioned that one of the Schnell brigades had some anti-tank units. Um, Here, I thought I had discovered something looking at. Was it Tank Encyclopedia? It's an online source. They have all kinds of artist renditions of tanks and all this other stuff, and they mentioned some really weird conversion of a French tank or something. And they said, yeah, this was part of the Schnell Brigade. Like, oh, Schnell Brigade had tanks. Well, they had 5 of them. I don't know if it even rates a dot, but I mean, it's still kind of interesting. Oh, bicycle troops, they have their own tanks. Oh, that's cute.
You threw some armor up around a bicycle and someone has to pedal that shit, and that works.
If the tank breaks down, you get enough guys on enough bicycles, maybe you could tow it somewhere.
You could drag it, yeah.
Yeah.
That was before geared bikes, too.
Yeah.
That's like a
Yeah.
single gear. Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. German troops BMXing their way across France. Do you have your grenade basket? I wonder what grenade basket translates into German.
I could tell you in 3 seconds. I have an app just specifically for this.
Okay, wicker grenade basket.
Would be a Vicker Granatenkorb.
Oh, there you go.
Vicker Granatenkorb.
There you go. Vicker Granatenkorb Truppen. Did you just call me? Yeah, ring that bell. All right then. I think that's a wrap.
Yeah, Vicker Granatenkorb Truppen. The Wicker Grenade Basket Troops. That's fantastic.
We have a counter for that.
It's an Easter egg counter. There's only one in every box.
No. What we'll do is we'll kickstart this whole thing, and that'll be the thing. You get the Wicker Grenade Basket Troops counter if you push it over a certain level. For an extra $20, you get the Wicker Grenade Basket counter. All right.
People go, I wonder what that troop looks like. And you look at it, it's like a 1-1-0. It's got an attack, but next to it, it's got no defense. Yeah, it's a 1-0. It's like,
yeah, you definitely want these guys up front. They're just going. They're gonna be the first ones in.
but they get a 6 movement.
6 movement. Oh, and they're special troops. You do get the column shift.
That's right. That's right. Part of their grenade repertoire is smoke grenades, so they can run away.
It's like they're shock troops. What do you mean they're shock troops? Well, they see them running up with their wicker baskets. The defenders are just shocked. I can't believe this is happening.
They don't know what to do. Oh, that's great. That would be funny.
Yeah.
Well,
as a buddy of mine at work likes to say, I have a lot of bad ideas. So sometimes I say them out loud.
And on that hilarious note, we
On
can
the
end this
hilarious.
video for tonight.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Well,
So have a great weekend.
you too. Enjoy.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.